this video, we're going to talk about how HR can better support a hybrid workplace. Honestly, I have so many questions about this, so it's going to be a packed episode in which we'll talk about culture, engagement, trust, productivity, and how to prepare ourselves for more hybrid work in the future. This discussion's coming up right now. Hi there, I'm Andrea Adams and the host of HR Shop Talk. On this show, you get some expert insight into HR. I encourage you to subscribe to the show by clicking on the button at the bottom of the screen to continue learning from my smart and experienced guests. Today, my guest is Dr. Laura Hambley-Lovett. She is a business psychologist, thought leader on remote leadership and workplace flexibility, author, and speaker. She has founded several psychology practices in Canada, including Work Evolution and Canada Career Counseling. Dr. Laura is currently a partner with Humance, a national consulting firm focused on culture and performance. Hi, Laura, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Andrea?
I am good. I'm good. So we're going to talk about HR support for remote, or as I'm learning, hybrid workplaces. So I'm going to dive in on a really heavy topic already. So what are some of the challenges and solutions to shaping organizational culture in a remote environment?
Well, I think that it's a real opportunity more than a challenge. I mean, I think if we're talking about 100% remote, it is a challenge, right? And this current pandemic has brought forth all kinds of challenges, but I'd say the opportunities are that in some organizations, it's brought people closer together because they've been through something together. They've had to pivot, they've had to survive, they've had to support one another. So we're seeing examples of that where the teams feel closer than ever, even though they're apart, okay? I'd say the hybrid workplace going forward, which a lot of organizations will hopefully adopt, the organizations will need to be really intentional about what elements of their culture from before the pandemic they want to make sure continue, what elements of their culture maybe they want to shed and do something different or become something even better than they were before. So we've been working with organizations on that, on defining the elements of culture to take forward and how to shift and adjust to become more innovative, more connected, etc., than ever before, but not requiring everyone to be sitting in an office 40 hours a week to make that happen.
So let's talk about engagement. How do you engage employees who are, let's say we're looking forward and we're going to be in a hybrid environment? How do you engage those employees?
You essentially have to make sure to do so much more intentionally than you would if they were in the office every day. So as a leader, I'll talk about leaders and HR. Leaders and HR need to be much more planful about checking in on people, having huddles, drive-bys, a take five, which means taking 5 minutes at the beginning of a meeting to ask how the person is doing, to learn something about the person that you might not have known. And I think too often when we're on remote meetings, they start late, people arrive late, there might be tech issues logging on, which means that you're often just rushing to get to business and the agenda, whereas the take five about, okay, how's everyone doing? What's one thing that you enjoyed about your weekend? Go. And you go around the room. Yeah, you're killing the first 5 minutes, but you're making people feel much more connected and hence engaged. So if people know that they are cared about and appreciated as human beings, they're much more likely to be engaged and feel committed to the organization.
Okay. So it seems to me that trust would be a foundational piece of hybrid work. What are other elements of the employer-employee relationship that are important to effective hybrid work?
Okay, so trust is the foundation. So we do a lot on trust. We assess leaders on their propensity to trust or distrust. We do trust training for leaders and for employees because building trust is absolutely key. But we layer on that other topics too, and that's a very good question. So communication, collaboration, and coordination are the 3 Cs.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the topics that we tend to see are most foundational to build in an organization when you're working remotely. Communication looks and feels different. Collaboration looks and feels different. And same with coordination. And we're relying on different communications technologies and ways of getting work done that you need to be much more aware of and realize that we didn't learn how to work together in an office environment overnight. It took decades, and HR needs to be at the center of this, of bringing in the right development opportunities, not just training, but a myriad of different ways of developing this type of remote workplace or hybrid workplace environment that's effective and engaging and productive.
So I've worked in environments where management wouldn't trust their employees to work from home. And now all those same companies have been forced to send these untrusted employees home. So what are we learning about employee behavior when they're not being watched?
Well, we're learning the skeptics were wrong. And we're seeing that in a lot of the data that, wow, I didn't realize my people could be productive from home. And when we track our metrics, we're more productive than ever, right? Because we've had to pivot through this pandemic and now our business is stronger because of it. So we're hearing success stories like that. We're hearing that people are performing and productive, but we are hearing that people are feeling overloaded, overworked, Zoom fatigue, and burnout. So to us, it needs to be more of a middle ground. We got to watch people's overload in all of this. But I'd say the skeptics are wrong, that most people can work effectively and efficiently remotely at least part of the time, okay? Maybe not all of the time, and I think the all or nothing is not the right scenario here, but having a hybrid or a mix, it's the organizations that do that that'll take advantage of the flexibility as a perk for people. But if you pull all the flexibility away and you say, well, you were able to work that way, and now you're asking to continue working that way some of the time, but yeah, I don't trust you, you're coming back here, they're going to lose that talent, because it's the organizations that give flexibility people will flock to.
If you found this interesting, subscribe to see all the episodes and comment. Have you found it more difficult or easy to practice HR in a remote work environment? Let us know in the comment section below. And back to you, Laura. So how have you seen employers effectively manage an employee who's abusing the freedom of working from home, and what did they do?
Well, I think the word manage is the right word choice, Andrea, because it's about performance management. So when leaders say, I don't trust my people unless they're in the office, then I say, well, you must have some issues with their performance, because how do you know that they're working when they're in the office? Are you looking over their shoulder? Oh, no, I'm not a micromanager. Well, then if you're concerned about issues of trust, that's a bigger and broader concern. And then I always say, well, how do you know if they're performing? How are you tracking the deliverables, the KPIs, the metrics? And oftentimes that's the struggle. They don't have appropriate ways of knowing when their people perform. And then I say, well, that to me is a really important step here, because that's fundamental. Because how are you going to manage performance if you don't know what it is that you're managing towards? So it opens up a major challenge, is that performance management needs a lot of improvement. I know HR has been trying really hard to work on, and I don't think it's just HR. I think it's leaders and managers don't like performance management. It becomes an annual grind that they have to go through, whereas performance management and performance should be just a part of everyday life, is giving feedback, right? Constructive and positive. And if you keep that going and you're good at it, then the annual review is just a formality. So yeah, this is a whole broader discussion, isn't it?
Yeah, and I did an episode on performance management, and he said exactly what you've just said.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, in a very related sense, is there anything to add in how HR could support leaders in switching from this focus on measuring input or presence to measuring output?
Well, I think HR can help with the skills, right? The giving and delivering feedback, difficult conversations, those skills, or bring in the right training to the organization. But it's not just about the skills, it's also about having the right system to track the appropriate performance metrics and the outcomes and the outputs. Because if there's no system or there's no structure around it, well, of course, it's going to be back to, I need to see my people at their desks. Then at least I know they're putting in the time, right? And they're getting there every day. And someone at a desk is not necessarily working. And even if they look like they're working, they may not be efficient and productive. So presenteeism is a thing of the authoritarian leadership style that needs to be a thing of the past, as far as I'm concerned.
So I know of a large company that says, we're an in-person kind of company, and they're going to bring all their employees back to the office at the first opportunity. Do you have any insight into what might be going on there?
I've definitely heard and seen these companies, and I've even seen ones that have brought back people too early, right? Like, come on back, right? Maybe before some of the people were even comfortable. Yeah. And all of us have a different risk portfolio when it comes to this pandemic. Some of us are whatever, and then others are, I cannot risk it. I have like a person in my life who lives with me who could get it and die, right? So we see the whole, different risk portfolio. And I think that's part of caring and understanding what motivates your people and what their needs are, okay? Mm-hmm. But back to the organization that wants to bring everybody back, okay? So we're an in-person kind of organization, okay? Great. So what you're not is an organization that values flexibility, right? So you're not a flexibility-centered organization. Oh, no, we are. No, you're not, right? Because if you bring everyone in 9 to 5, 5 days a week, you're not embracing flexibility. Just so they need to be clear on that, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's okay if an organization wants to declare themselves bricks and mortar, right? Physical space is important organization. They just need to be clear about that. And certain people will gravitate towards that, and others will say, I'd rather work somewhere that gives me flexibility and trusts me, right? Because I want to have somewhere where I can collaborate and go in and be with my team. But do I need that 40 hours a week? Do I need 40 hours of collaboration? I think not. Again, depending on the job. Mm-hmm. But if I can do my focused work from home, my reports, my heads down, my focused work, and I can save a few hours commuting a week, and be able to put a load of laundry in, walk the dog in the middle of the day when it's sunny, that I value that.
In general, what competencies or expertise does HR need to develop or foster to move organizations forward in terms of hybrid work?
Well, I think working knowledge and understanding the evidence and what we know to be true based on the evidence, the research, the experience of the pre-COVID, okay? Because the pre-COVID, there's like 15 to 20 years of organizations that were more of the cutting edge or the trailblazers, etc. Those ones were launching much more intentional, flexible, mobile, and hybrid environments. During the pandemic is an interesting time because you have all the other stressors and uncertainty and variables going on. But I think it's important for HR to realize that there is a lot of knowledge base out there, but there's also a lot of flavors of the week stuff. So you got to be discerning because we've seen a lot of people come out of the woodwork. I can help you with remote leadership. It's like, this is brand new to you, right? So you got to be discerning, you got to educate yourself, you got to know when to bring in the right expertise. And there is expertise out there like Work Evolution and Shimon, my company, but you need to just understand and educate yourself on what's needed and then bring it in and then skill up and learn some of the differences. Well, what's different between a hybrid and a regular leadership development offering, right? Like, what are some of the key differences we need to land on?
Yeah. Okay, final question. So, you've been studying this a long time. I figure you're going to have a good answer to this question. Where is good and well-researched, not flavor of the month, source of best practice around hybrid work?
I mean, anyone can reach out to me, of course. So Work Evolution with an OH.com. We have a blog and we have a research section. Years and years of stuff we've been doing. And then some of the trusted sources. So Global Workforce Analytics or Global Workplace Analytics. It's Kate Lister. We love her stuff. It comes out of the US, but she's been researching and delivering like practical statistics, information, and business cases around this for probably 15 years, 10 years. So the field of organizational psychology, we definitely have an evidence base in this, and we apply it to business and to organizations. And I would say our field has been putting out some good stuff. It's just a matter of understanding there's a lot out there, and there's going to be a lot of strong opinions, right? There'll be the camp that we need collaboration, we need to be face-to-face in order to be innovative. I call BS on that. For sure. If you think you can only be innovative when you're together, then you're not using the right technologies and tools. Right?
Well, those sorts of blanket statements are always a little bit suspect.
Exactly. Right. But I also, again, I think the human connection and the human touch and being face to face is very important. I'm not negating that. But again, I've formed relationships. My company got acquired, and some of my partners I've never even met face to face, but we've innovated together for sure.
Well, thanks, Laura. That was so interesting. I will be doing an episode on work-life wellness with Dr. Hambley-Lovett as well, and we'll add a link to that when it's available. She also has her own podcast called Where Work Meets Life, which has exposed me to some thought-provoking ideas. You can find that on her website, drlaura.live, or on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and other podcast platforms. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.